Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. 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 .com/Chris Godinez. They are an online therapy company, online, so they do videos. They also do chatting, which is awesome. They are international, also awesome. So if you need to get to a master's level or a PhD level therapist online, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez is your go-to place to go to. So go to. So anyway, so there that is. Thank you. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Hi guys. So today, kind of exciting. We are finally getting another dog. Yay! So we went through a rescue, and she's a collie mix. We are naming her Moana. Her name was Anna, so I'm naming her Moana. So we're doing that. Very excited. Super, super, super excited. We have not had a dog since Scotty passed away in March. So this is kind of exciting. She's supposed to get here this afternoon. She's coming in from the edge of New Mexico, Texas area. So they're driving her over and they're giving me little updates as she's coming along. So that's just, I'm so happy. I can't stand it. But anyway, this leads me into my current events thing. So I belong to a bunch of dog groups because I love dogs. And one of them that I belong to is called Straydar. And so it posts dogs that are strays that people have found, and they're taking them to get a microchip to see if they have an owner and things like that. So, and I don't know if this is unique to Phoenix, but people tend to dump their dogs in the desert. And you can't do that because here's the thing. The desert is a hostile environment. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. There's scorpions, there's rattlesnakes, there's coyotes, and there's the dog fight people that go look for strays in the desert to use the dogs that have been dumped as bait dogs. So this is a huge problem in the Phoenix area, is that they're constantly, people, rescues are always going out into the desert to see if they can find dogs that have been dumped. Since John and I have lived here, 2 of our dogs we found because people just dumped them. So Baba and Scotty, we both found. We took them to the vet. We scanned them for chips, tried to find the owner, posted on all of the, Pets 911 and all of the other places and things like that. No owners ever came forward. So they became ours, which is great because, hey, we're dogs, better. So anyway, I want to make people aware. Dumping the dogs is not always going to end happy, is what I'm basically trying to say. And the only people that dump dogs like that generally have got a personality disorder. And how I know that is because normal, healthy people don't dump dogs. If you're going to have to give a dog up, find a rescue. There are rescues for every single breed out there, okay? Find a no-kill shelter. More and more, the shelters are becoming no-kill, which is thank God, okay? There's different ways to find a home for your pet that you can no longer take care of. Now, I understand financial stuff and things like that, but just dumping a dog, just dumping a cat, dumping a tortoise or dumping, and that's a problem too. People just dump pets when they can't take care of them. And I'm concerned because we're coming into the Christmas season, and what is something that people always buy their kids? A puppy, a kitten, a small tortoise or a turtle or a hamster or a rat or, one of those little pets. And it's a lifelong commitment. It is a lifelong commitment. And I get so angry because when we found Scotty, John was out walking Baba. Scotty was running through the green space, no collar, no nothing, and walked up to Baba and licked him. And that's how we found Baba. Baba had walked up to Kyle, our first dog that we got from the Humane Society, and licked him. And so we were like, it's a sign. So we adopted Scotty after we, posted and tried to find the owners and everything else like that. So you cannot just give an animal for Christmas and expect it to be, disposable. It is a lifelong commitment. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot of in the Straydar posts are senior dogs that are being dumped in the shelter because the owners couldn't handle seeing the dog die of old age or get older, or maybe the dog had medical issues or whatever. And again, that screams to me no compassion. How could you do, you could no more. If you'll do it to a dog, you'll do it to a person. Okay. So it just be aware, this is a huge issue. If you do see strays, see if you can get them safe. A lot of them, oh my God, my niece and I were just talking yesterday. She found a pit bull that had been abused and emaciated, starving, and they were able to get it to a no-kill shelter, which was great. So if you see a stray, here's what to do. If you can get them to a rescue, if you know their breed, or get them to a no-kill shelter. You want to take them to a vet, scan them for a chip, but here's the sad thing. A lot of times when I'm reading on StrayDart, they're saying, okay, we scanned the chip, called the number, the person said they don't want the dog anymore. I don't even have words. Why would you go through all the trouble of getting a dog to not keep said dog? That makes no sense. So if you find a dog, a cat that's obviously being mistreated or starving or whatever, get it to a vet, scan it for a chip. If there's no chip and there's no owner and you've posted it on all of the websites, get it to a rescue or get it to a no-kill shelter. That is the best that you can do. Or keep it if you can. The thing of it is, though, is that there's so many dogs out there. And it's like every day I'm seeing, like 35, 40 dogs a day on StrayDart. And I'm just like, there's no way one person or two people or three people could even take in that many dogs. So just be aware, this is a huge problem. And they, like I said, they dump the dogs in the desert thinking that, they'll survive their dogs. No, coyotes eat dogs, guys. If the dog is smaller than a coyote, and even if they're the same size, the pack will gang up on it, wear it out first, run it until it's tired, gang up on it and eat it. So they don't understand the way of the world. It is not a Disney film. It is ugly. Nature can be very ugly, and coyotes are predators. So much like narcissists. So anyway, there is that. I just wanted to make you guys a public service announcement. If you see a stray, see if you can get them, take them in for a scan, get them to a no-kill shelter or a rescue. So that's the best that you can do. Don't give pets if you're not planning on taking care of it. Don't have pets if you're not planning on being with that pet at the very last moment of their, oh my God, I'm going to start crying. So when Scotty died, when we had to put Scotty down, we fed him his favorite meal, which was French fries and a cheeseburger from Giant Hamburgers. That's his favorite. And we petted him and we loved him and we talked to him all the way through so that he knew we were with us, because when you put pets down, they look for you because they're scared. So you want to comfort them. So people who are willing to dump a senior dog because, oh, I can't deal with the emotional. Okay, well, obviously you can't deal with emotions, period, because this is part of being human, is dealing with death and being there for those that are dying, whether it's a dog or a human. So, anyway, that is my rant for the day. So if you see a stray, you know what to do. Go do it. Go do the right thing. So there that is. Okay. Sorry. I love dogs. I love cats. I love all animals. I just love them. And it kills me when I see them being mistreated. And again, turning them loose, that's neglect. That's what narcissists do, is neglect. It's like, okay, I can't deal with this. I'm going to make it somebody else's problem. So yeah, there it is. Okay. Get myself back together. Okay. So today we are going to talk about attachment. So attachment is huge. So basically it's how our parents, and part of it's genetic. There's obviously a genetic component to it too. So nature, nurture. So what causes one kid to be able to attach better than another? Genetic component, obviously the eternal question, nature, nurture, nature, nurture. So there is a genetic component to it. Some kids are a little bit more resilient and others are a little bit more sensitive, and that's okay. So if you've got a parent who is abusive, neglectful, not present, verbally abusive, sexually abusive, mentally abusive, emotionally abusive, totally checked out. It creates an insecure attachment. So let's talk about the different attachments so you understand what the heck we're talking about here. Okay, let me get to attachments. Okay, attachments are the emotional bonds that form between the infant and the caregiver, and it is the means by which the helpless infant gets primary needs met. So, in a healthy attachment, that caregiver is there, like no question. Like the baby cries, the caregiver comes and changes the diapers or feeds them or comforts them or whatever the child plays with them, whatever the child is needing at that moment. And that child knows by repeated, crying events that parent is going to be there to comfort them, because that's crying is the only way they can communicate when they're that little. So, and what a lot of abusers do is they do the whole let them cry it out thing. Oh, hell no. You never do that with a child, because that shows the child that the world is not safe and nobody is coming to help them, which is not good, because infants are helpless. Like literally they can't do it for themselves. They don't have the cognitive ability. They don't have the physical ability. So crying is their way of communicating. That is a form of communication. And I see abusers use that against the kid and punish them for crying. Can I tell you how much I hate abusers? I really freaking hate them, like to the core, because they go after the most vulnerable, and that's children. They go after the child. They go after the baby. They get along with kids somewhat, unless they're really, truly psychopathic, until they're about, I don't know, 2, 3, when the kids start saying no and oh my God, then they hate that kid. Or 5 or 6, that's another stage the kids go through when they're playing and discovering who they are and drawing boundaries and things like that. So an abuser will punish the child for normal communication. So crying is a normal form of communication for an infant. So a healthy attachment is that child cries, their needs get met though. Mom, dad, caregiver, whoever that is, comes in, meets their needs, changes their diapers, feeds them, plays with them, cuddles them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you've got inconsistent, like totally mom, dad, were checked out, drug addict, abusive, whatever, sometimes they would meet the need, sometimes they wouldn't, sometimes they punish you, sometimes they wouldn't, depending on where they were mentally, kind of thing. So that creates an insecure attachment style. So let's talk a little bit more.
What do you want to message?
Nope. Thank you, Siri. I don't need you right now. Okay. So attachment provides the infant's first coping system. It is a mental representation of the caregiver in the infant's mind, one that can be summoned up as a comforting mental presence in difficult moments. Attachment allows an infant to separate from the caregiver without distress and to begin exploring the world around him or her. So this is why you see some kids have a real issue with separation. They don't feel secure. They feel they're kind of like, are they coming back or are they not? Now, this can happen when, and I hate this in our society, both parents are having to work. You get FMLA, but they give you 6 weeks off after having a brand new baby? Well, 6 weeks is not enough time for that little one to understand, yeah, you're going to keep coming back. Yeah, you're going to keep coming back. Do you see where I'm going with that? It just, so much in our society needs to change. Oh my God. Starting with how much time off parents get to bond with that baby. That it's hugely important. That time period is really important for that child to understand that person, that caregiver is coming back. So, okay, hold on. Okay. Attachments early in life. So children with a secure attachment may be distressed upon separation, but warmly welcome the caregiver back through eye contact and hug seeking. Okay. So that's a secure attachment. They might be distressed when they leave, but they kind of know, okay, they're coming back. Oh, good. They're back. Okay, we're good. And they look at them and they laugh and they want to hug them and all that sort of good stuff. Anxious, resistant attachment describes a child who is frightened, terrified by separation, and continues to display anxious behavior once the caregiver returns, because they don't trust that the caregiver is going to stay or that the caregiver is going to consistently return. There's no consistency there. And so they don't trust. And that makes a ton of sense. So let's take this a step further. So we come into adulthood. We may have had abusive relationships romantically, or with having a boss that was an abuser, or friends that were toxic, or whatever. And we start getting healthy and we go, oh my God, I don't trust. This is why. So this is why I keep saying the Inner Child Workbook. And I don't care which author you use, whoever speaks to you the best, I guess, is a good way to put it. So either the Catherine Taylor one, which is a little bit outdated because she has you do some collages and things like that. And who owns magazines nowadays? Seriously. But, or I wish they'd update it. That would be really cool. Or the Lucia Cappuccioni one, where they have you write the child with your non-dominant hand and write the adult with the dominant hand. So it comes at it from two different ways. I like the Catherine Taylor one because it's more experiential. It's more like, imagine holding yourself as a baby. Imagine what your garden looks like as a child. What does that garden look like? Is it barren? Is it a desert? Is it a jungle? What does it look like? So it's coming at it from two different directions. So both of them could be good. I do like the Catherine Taylor one a little bit better, but that's also because I like the experiential stuff. I like the holding yourself as an infant. I like the grabbing the applesauce and smearing it in your hair and seeing what comes up, So, So anyway, Inner Child Workbook. Work on the inner child. Attachment. What was your relationship like with your parents? Were they there? Were they consistent? Were they loving? Were they kind? Or were they addicts? Were they absent? Were they abusive? Were they just not present? They might have been there physically, but were they not there mentally? It really does affect us, and it creates that lack of trust. It does. It's like it's deep. So that lack of trust is deep. So when I tell people, when they're like, well, how do I learn to trust again? Work on the inner child. Please, 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 please work on the inner child. Work on the inner child. Work on the self-esteem workbook in conjunction with the Inner Child Workbook, because you're dealing with a bunch of subconscious thoughts that you're not even aware of that are running in the background telling you how safe or not the world is. And we tend to make mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs, etc., become somehow factual, as opposed to, wait a minute, here I'm having this thought and I need to challenge it. Where did I get this thought from? And a lot of times people are like, I don't know where I got this thought from. I don't even know. I mean, it's so kind of foggy. Well, it could be foggy because it's been there since you were itty bitty. So it's a really good idea. Get with a good trauma therapist. Seriously, hand to heart, swear to whatever deity you believe in that's on the side of good. Get a good trauma therapist, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it. This is trauma. This is trauma response. We're going to talk more about that. So all of this stuff, all of the trauma responses go back to attachment. They go back to self-esteem. They go back to the inner child. I keep saying that, and everybody's like, no, that's too easy. No, it's got to be more difficult than that. Oh, honey, it's difficult when you start going through it. Trust me, because you start feeling all this stuff. I mean, difficult. I mean, it's a challenge. It is, because you start feeling all of these emotions and you start having memories. And then, it's kind of like, oh my God, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Don't freak out when you start remembering things. That's what we want, because then once you drag this stuff into the light, now you can see it. Now you can address it, and you can basically go, I hear you knocking. You can't come in. I see you. I hear you. You're full of doo-doo. Go pound sand. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Right when you get work. Bye-bye. Do you see where I'm going with that? So yeah, it's really really important to get a good trauma therapist to help you with this. You need somebody who has been there, done that, gets it, is able to comfort you through this, because this is terrifying to a child, inner child. So, when you're dealing with all of this attachment stuff, you need somebody who can be like that, kind of like a substitute parent, a substitute adult. So, a therapist who's going to be comforting and there and good boundaries and, that kind of thing. So get with a good trauma therapist. EMDR would be a great way to go. CBT would be a great way to go. You need to confront those mistaken thoughts and those mistaken beliefs about who you are and what is your safety in this world. Okay, hold on. More to this. No, that's not the one I want. Hang on. Avoidant attachment. So we went through the secure attachment, the anxious resistant attachment. Avoidant attachment denotes a child who reacts fairly calmly to a parent's separation, but does not embrace them upon their return. So it's almost as if the kid is kind of like, leave, stay, I don't care, And so the parent comes back, and instead of being excited, which most kids would be, they're kind of like, yeah, I know you're going to leave again, so why do I care? Trauma response. So that says to me that kid has not had consistency in what's going on in their life. Sometimes the parents there, sometimes they're not. They've decided, what the heck, I'm just going to do it my own damn self. If I could reach the counter, I'd get my own bottle, seriously. And I got to tell you guys, there is such a correlation between the attachment style and later on in life addictions. And one of my clients said something brilliant earlier this week. They were like, everybody wants to talk about tipping the bottle, but they don't ever talk about what makes the bottle tip. And I went, oh my God, write that down. That's brilliant. Put it in one of your poems. Oh my God. 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 So it's true. It's like the attachment style is what makes the bottle tip. That's what causes us to go use, because we're trying to numb the pain and the fear. Lots of fear. Oh my God. So there is very much a connection. Okay. All right. So getting back to this. Okay. Okay. So avoidant attachment is kind of like that leave, stay, I don't care, and they don't get excited, and eventually that turns into not asking for help, which is a trauma response, not really allowing yourself to be vulnerable, also a trauma response. So there's that. Isn't that interesting? This is so interesting. All right. Disorganized attachment is manifest in odd or ambivalent behavior toward a caregiver upon return, approaching, but then turning away from them, or even hitting the caregiver, and maybe the result of childhood trauma, because the kids are scared and angry and they don't know how to react. So that makes total sense. Then on a completely different level, we've got reactive attachment disorder. Reactive attachment disorder is a rare but serious condition in which an infant or a young child does not establish healthy attachments with the parents or the caregivers. Now, this is usually in cases like, say, for example, people were adopting children from China and Romania. And if the children were not cuddled and held and loved and taken care of, they got this reactive attachment disorder. So reactive attachment disorder may develop if a child's basic needs for comfort, affection, and nurturing are not met, and loving, caring, stable attachments with others are not established. So so orphanages that, in other countries that did not take care of the kids, that just ignored them, strapped them down, didn't feed them, didn't cuddle with them, etc. Symptoms of reactive attachment disorder usually start in infancy. There's little research on signs and symptoms of reactive attachment disorder beyond early childhood, and it remains uncertain whether it occurs in children older than 5. Unexplained withdrawal, fear, sadness, or irritability, sad or listless appearance, not seeking comfort or showing no response when comfort is given, failure to smile, watching others closely but not engaging in social interactions, failure to reach out when picked up. That's because kids just, pick me up, that kind of thing. No interest in playing peekaboo or other interactive games, behavior problems, failing to seek support. So you want to make sure, if there is a child doing that they get into a pediatric psychiatrist. Absolutely, because this needs to be addressed immediately, because this leads to other things, risk factors. The child lived in an institution, frequently changes foster homes or caregivers, have parents who are have severe mental health problems, criminal behavior, or substance abuse that's impairing parenting, have prolonged separation from parents or other caregivers due to repeated out-of-home placement, hospitalization, or death of a primary caregiver. Um, if without proper treatment, reactive attachment disorder can continue for several years and will have lifelong consequences. This can include problems with relationships, social interactions, mental and physical health, behavior, intellectual development, and substance abuse. More research is needed to determine if problems in older children and adults are related to experiences of reactive attachment disorder in early childhood. Can I just say yes to that already? So, yeah. So basically, its intervention would be trauma therapist working on the abuse, working on the trauma, working on self-esteem, working on healthy attachments. Okay, hold on. I wanted to get to okay, attachment styles in adulthood. Attachment security and behaviors have been studied in adult relationships, and this is on Psychology Today. Attachment-related patterns that differ between individuals are called attachment styles. Okay, many adults feel secure in their relationship and comfortable depending on others, echoing secure attachment in children. So one way to heal attachment is to surround yourself with healthy people, basically, is what they're saying. So you can get healthier and more secure in your attachment if you surround yourself with healthy people. So again, it all connects. It all connects. So you remember how I was talking about when we start getting healthy, we start moving toxic people out of our life and it starts feeling lonely and we start going, oh my God, I'm alone. Well, take a deep breath. You were alone when you were with all of these toxic people. You're making room for the healthy people so that you really aren't alone. You've got somebody to turn to. You've got somebody healthy. You can say, I'm having a tough day. Can we talk? That's what you need. You need friends. We are pack animals, no different than dogs. We need our pack. We need our friends. We need relationships that are healthy. We need people we can turn to and people we can learn to trust with. So this is really important to start working with a trauma therapist to get this handled. Okay. Okay. Others tend to feel anxious about their connections with close others or prefer avoiding getting close to them in the first place. Studies of persons with borderline personality disorder characterized by a longing for intimacy and hypersensitivity to rejection have shown a high prevalence and severity of insecure attachment. So borderline personality disorder is born of trauma. So if there are issues with borderline personality disorder, like inappropriate behavior, inappropriate reactions, overly fearful of abandonment, things like that, get with a trauma therapist. DBT is wonderful for that. Get with a DBT therapist that understands borderline personality disorder, understands trauma, and can help the person work through that. So, getting back to it. Okay. People with an insecure attachment, they worry about being alone. I often worry that my romantic partner doesn't really love me. Some high in attachment avoidance likely worries about other people getting too close. So can you change your attachment style? Yes. Attachment styles can absolutely be changed substantially over time. Research suggests that may differ from relationship to relationship. Enduring terrible relationships may lead to less secure attachment orientation, and a history of supportive relationships may lead to increased security. So that's what I'm saying. Therapy and providing a safe connection and an opportunity to learn relational skills is also helpful. So in other words, surrounding yourself with healthy people, getting a good trauma therapist, addressing what you went through as a kid. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go through this last article. This is choosingtherapy.com. This is called Attachment Trauma Signs, Causes, and How to Heal. So we've already gone through the avoidant, anxious, disorganized, insecure. We've talked about that. We've talked about what attachment trauma is. We've talked about how it happens. Signs of attachment trauma in adults. Strong need for independence and autonomy and control in relationships. difficulty feeling closeness with others, and avoiding relationships that require intimacy because we're afraid. Or conversely, strong need for closeness, so like clingy with others to the point that they may drive other people away. Being on alert for signs that the other person is unhappy in a relationship, questioning one's self worth all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. Viewing a romantic partner in black or white terms, such as all good, all bad, all nothing, black, white. That's called splitting. Okay, let's get to consequences, difficulty in interpersonal relationships, unstable or negative sense of self. That makes sense. Okay, coping with attachment trauma. You've got to understand the impact of your past. You can't just go, oh, it's in the past. We're done. I'm not going to deal with it. You've got to acknowledge the impact of your past, and you've got to start working on healing from childhood trauma. Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor. Inner Child Workbook, Lucia Capaccioni. It can be painful to think about your early childhood experiences, but empathizing with how you felt as an infant or a child is hugely important. You can shift your focus to the present by reflecting on how your early childhood has impacted you and how you behave in your adult relationships. Understanding your patterns is one of the first steps towards change and healing. Develop connections that encourage strength and resilience. Once you're aware of the patterns in your relationship and how your past has shaped them, you can choose to approach building connections in a different way. Seek out relationships that are mutually beneficial. So not people pleasing, not somebody you have to chase, but a mutually benefiting friendship. If you feel like you are being taken advantage of, put down, or abused, you can choose to end that relationship and set healthy boundaries. If you are struggling in this area, get with a good trauma therapist. You can also consider support groups, group therapy, or recreational activities where you can meet like-minded people. Yes, that is how you meet healthier people, is by doing things you love. Get comfortable with honest communication. Communication is an important life skill that most of us are not taught, especially if we're in a disordered family. We tend to follow the examples set by our family and peers. Assertive communication involves expressing your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs in a clear manner. It is firm but respectful. It differs from passive communication, where you give in to others, and aggressive communications, where you aggressively demand from others. Again, if you're struggling with communication, get with a trauma therapist. Again, that's going to be the big answer in most of these. Connect with your body. The Body Keeps Score, Bessel van der Kolk. Excellent book. Highly recommend it. Get it, read it, work it, love it, live it. There we go. Attachment trauma can impact how you feel about yourself and your body. Making an effort to connect with yourself and your body can help you heal. So a lot of us that were abused and had families of origin that were just, totally dysfunctional and not helpful, very disconnected from our body. And even though I've been working on myself for a really, really, really long time, when I do something new, like Pilates, right? And I start doing like the higher classes, boy, howdy, do I realize how still disconnected from my body I am. Not horribly, but enough to be like, that's weird. I thought I worked on that. Well, time to work on it again, deeper. So yeah, we get disconnected from our body, from ourselves, literally in more ways than one. So reconnecting with the self-esteem workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, self-esteem, not other esteem, not your job, not what you can do for people, not how productive you are, you, self-esteem workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, work it. And he also addresses mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs, and how to challenge them, which is why I'm saying that's going to help with attachment. So there is that. So getting back in touch with your body. Okay, where was I? There are many approaches to this. You can do a body scan, meditation, mindfulness, progressive muscle relaxation, yoga, Pilates, breath work, taking note of how your body feels when you move, and establishing your own limits and boundaries for your body can help you feel more connected and more in control. Research on yoga for trauma is still emerging, but it shows promising results. If possible, it may be best to find a yoga teacher that specifically works with trauma healing. And yes, they are out there. Okay. I will get to the questions in just a second. Consider trauma-focused therapy. Therapy can help you explore your attachment trauma and understand its impact on you today. Developing a therapeutic relationship with a provider you trust also gives you the opportunity to experience a secure attachment. This experience can be transformative and can help you cultivate other safe connections in your life. Trauma-focused therapy can also teach you healthy ways to communicate, set boundaries, and cope with negative feelings. There are several different forms of therapy that treat trauma. EMDR is one, reprocessing, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what I do. You can find a therapist by asking for a referral from a friend. That is honestly the best way to find a therapist, is somebody who really loves their therapist and recommends them. That is, word of mouth is the best way. You can also search online directories, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. That's another good resource. Signs that you are healing from attachment trauma. Healing from attachment trauma is complex. It involves working through your past traumas, understanding how they have impacted you, and developing new beliefs and new behaviors in relationships. It can be hard to know if you're healing, kind of like seeing the forest through the trees. Depending on the person, the process can take months or even years, but it's not impossible. It can be done. Signs that you are healing from attachment trauma include: you have close and meaningful relationships, friendships. You're able to communicate your feelings to others. You are able to set healthy boundaries in your relationships. You have a healthy view of others and understand that people are imperfect. You accept your past and don't beat yourself up for it. You have self-confidence. The Self-Esteem Workbook, Lynn Schiraldi. Inner Child Workbook, Lucia Cappuccioni or Catherine Taylor. If you're working on healing from attachment trauma, you may not be seeing results immediately, but don't panic. It takes time to heal. It takes practice as well. So you may consider trying something that you haven't tried before, like seeing a therapist. Either way, don't give up. Healing from attachment is possible. Final thoughts. Attachment trauma is painful, but healing is possible. It can, and probable if you do the work. It can be difficult to do on your own, but therapy, self-care, learning new ways to communicate, and connecting with yourself and others can be extremely helpful. If you're struggling, even with the workbooks, get with a therapist. Get with a therapist that specializes in attachment issues, trauma, etc., and they can help you work through the workbooks. So what I do with my clients is I tell them, okay, you're having a hard time getting through the Inner Child Workbook. Let's work it together. Or you're having a hard time getting through the Self-Esteem Workbook. Let's work it together. Let's bring it in. Let's read it through. Let's do the exercises together. Let's see what's going on. A lot of times the reason people resist that is because they're afraid. Because what happens if I change? What happens if I let go of this identity that I've had for so long? What happens if I let go of all the toxic people? What happens if? So they're living in a future that hasn't quite happened yet, and they've already decided it's going to be bad as opposed to freedom. You know what I'm saying? So it's really important to understand your inner child is going to be resistant to change a lot of times, and to comfort. Comfort. And I don't mean with chocolate. So when you're dealing with the inner child and the inner child is afraid, you can imagine speaking to the inner child, holding the inner child, comforting the inner child, standing next to the inner child or behind the inner child, and letting them know you've got their back. It's going to be okay. It's going to be different, but it's going to be okay. And that they're safe and they're okay. And you're not going to let anything bad happen to them, unlike what happened to you when you were little. So it's really important to comfort your inner child, love yourself, do self-care, get with a good trauma therapist, work the books I recommend. There's a reason I recommend these books. So, and if talking to your inner child is too scary or painful or weird, because some people are like, oh, that's weird, I don't want to do it. Great, write them a love letter. Dear little 3-year-old me, I love you. Oh my God. Wow. And here's what's great about you. And here's how you got us through to adulthood. And here's how much I love you and I'm going to protect you. And I know this happened to you when you were a kid, but you know what? It's just a memory. Those a-holes cannot hurt you anymore. I won't let it happen. See where I'm going with that? So keep in communication with the inner child. Super, super important. Okay, to recap. Attachment issues are real. It comes from neglect or abuse. It does. How our caregivers treated us, either consistently or inconsistently, really affects how we view the world. Are we secure? Are we insecure? Are we avoidant? Are we, terrified all the time? Do we not trust? Are we kind of like, I'll do it my own damn self? All of that goes back to attachment. All of it. It is a trauma response. CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, Pete Walker. Excellent. Get it, read it, work it. Your Body Keeps Score. The Body Keeps Score. Bessel van der Kolk. Get it, read it, work it. Get a trauma therapist. All of these things are going to help you. And yes, 100%, you can heal this stuff. You absolutely can. Now, does this mean it's going to poof, go away, and you're never going to have to deal with it again? No. Like I said, I was in Pilates the other day, and I was doing, what was I doing? I was doing something. Oh, I had to do balance. So we were doing like one-legged pelvic tilts. And I was just like, oh dear, I am really disconnected. Wow. Because I cannot find my balance down there. Interesting. So just something I need to work on, something I need to write about, something I need to journal, something I need to process. It's just a It's not a, oh, you can't do this. It's more of a, I can't do this. Well, what's up with that? Where did that come from? And you work through it. That's it. You get curious. Get curious. Don't get judgmental. Get curious. So there that is. You can heal from attachment issues. Go you. So mirror work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to work on your childhood and then walk out. Work all the books. You've got this. You've got this. You can do it. All right. Let's get to the questions since I went long today. All right. Should we be with our narc parents when they are dying? I've been no contact for 8 years. No, you are under no obligation to be with the parents if they were abusive. So let me clarify my earlier comments. Narcissists tend to abandon dogs. Narcissists tend to abandon parents that actually loved them. If, however, the parent was abusive and you've been no contact, don't break the no contact. It's not going to be this miraculous, they're going to be nice to you kind of thing. So basically, you're not a bad person for staying no contact. You're not a bad person for not seeing them. What I'm talking about is if, you've been with this dog for 12 years and you just suddenly are like, no, I can't handle it being dead and being gone. Or you've got a family member that's actually been kind and good to you and shove them into an old age home and don't ever talk to them again. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I am not talking about an abuser that you've been no contact with for 18 years that's dying. You are under no obligation to ever speak to them again. And it's different because they're abusive. Does that make sense? So I hope that clarified that. If you're afraid of everything, which is called agoraphobia, fear can be mistaken as excitement. I fear nothing at the same time. Yeah, it can. Because nobody ever taught us how to feel emotions, and nobody ever taught us how to separate them all out. So that makes total sense. I fear nothing at the same time. I face things head on. It's better to go through it than around it. Am I wrong? Well, here's the thing. Facing things is actually kind of a good thing. I kind of feel the same way, and maybe that's a trauma response. I'm not sure, but I feel the same way, like facing things like let's handle it, let's get her done kind of thing. But you've got to make sure it's a mindfulness thing. So is it fear that's driving you, or is it something that needs to be done? So I would say journal it out. Is it fear that's being driven here, or is it something that truly needs to be done? I like to face things head on. That's just the kind of person I am. And you want to make sure of the motivation. Sounds like an actor. What's the motivation? You want to make sure what the motivation is. It's like, are you doing it out of a healthy facing things and getting through it, or are you doing it out of fear? And separating out excitement and fear is going to be hugely important, because if you're responding to fear as excitement, that can also get you into trouble. So journal, get with a therapist, work it through. So there is that. What do you think about Homecoming, Reclaiming and Healing Your Inner Child by John Bradshaw? Catherine Taylor's book is so huge, I can't do it. I have not read John Bradshaw's book, so I don't know. I don't know. Um, I know some people get intimidated because the book looks really thick. And again, it's for you. It is really for you. This is a gift to you. So if the Catherine Taylor one is too intimidating, go for the Lucia Cappuccioni one. That's a little bit thinner. But remember, every book is for you to love you and for you to heal you. It is a gift to you. So read the Homecoming one if that works. If you like it, then that's great. I have not read it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's good or not. So, but do what works. But don't be off put just because a book is thick. Because a lot of the stuff is exercises. A lot of the things she has in her workbook are things you have to actually do. So, yeah. So try it. Try the book. Let me know how it is. If you like it, if you read the book and you like it, let me know. If you read the book and you hate it, also let me know, but let me know why, so I can kind of help guide people when they're like, oh, what other books do you have? So yeah, that's that. And basically it's like whatever workbook works for you. I don't care as long as it is moving you forward and moving you away from abuse. That's all I care about. I just want you guys to be healthy. That's really my whole goal. Okay. Do narcissistic parents cause a detachment of the child and parent? Oh, yes. Oh, my Lord. So this kind of goes back to the pet thing, too. So a narcissistic partner, male or female, doesn't matter, will be jealous of the child. I know. They'll be jealous of the dog. They'll be jealous of the cat. They'll be jealous of the hamster, the turtle, the tortoise, whatever is getting attention that they're not getting. So they'll be jealous of the child. Absolutely. And they will encourage, because my dad did this. Oh my God. So, okay. So my dad was jealous of my middle sister. And when my middle sister would cry, he insisted that my mom let her cry it out. My sister cried so hard, she ended up getting a hernia as a baby. Okay? I'm not okay with that theory of parenting. I think it's abuse. It is abuse. And he was angry every time my mom had to pay attention to one of us. And this continued on through all of our lives. He was jealous of me. He was jealous of my other sisters. I don't know why. Let's put it this way: this man will never, and I use the man loosely, will never win Father of the Year award. So they are jealous of the child. They are envious. They want the attention, and they will encourage the other parent to not bond with the child. 110%. You betcha. Okay, my narc mother was someone I never had a bond with. Well, if she was a narcissist, they wouldn't know how to bond anyway, because narcissists do not know emotions. They don't know how to deal with them. They don't know how to relate to that little tiny infant, who needs to be held and loved and kissed and cuddled and comforted and fed and everything else. When she died, I had no feelings of grief or anything. So when my dad died, he was the narcissist in my life. When my dad died, I was not sad because he was dead. In fact, when he died, Mom and I sat on the couch and went, thank God that son of a bitch is dead. Seriously. Because with a narcissist, they're abusive or they're neglectful. There's no connection. I couldn't relate to this guy literally to save my life. I had to leave home when I was 17 because he was so abusive. It just was not a good thing. When he died, I felt nothing. I was not, stop it, Siri. I felt nothing. I was not sad for him. I was not sad that he was gone. What I was sad about, and I talk about it in my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad? What I was sad about, available on Amazon, what I was sad about was the if only. If only he hadn't been crazy. If only he wasn't a narcissist or borderline, because he had both, I think. If only he wasn't cruel. If only he wasn't mean. If only he wasn't, completely detached from reality. If only he was willing to go get therapy and work on himself. If only, if only, if only, if only. That's what I was sad about. I was sad about, and I was sad for my siblings. Oh boy, this is the day, isn't it? So we were sitting at a table, and I've told this story before. And all of our siblings were talking about my dad because we all had the same dad. We had different moms. And my brother was saying, now I'll never get his approval. And he was right, because my brother tried so hard to get my dad's approval his entire life. And of course, my dad never approved of him. My brother was a MacGyver, so he could fix literally spit and string. He could fix anything. And I thought it was brilliant. My dad, because it wasn't academic, put him down, told him how stupid he was. He told all of us how stupid we were. And of course, that's projection. Hello. But of course, we didn't know that as kids. So my poor brother was sitting there going, well, now I'll never get his approval. And of course, my brother never got the help he needed either. And it just, the wake of destruction is what hit me when my dad died. It was like, you absolute bastard. How dare you damage all of these kids who did not deserve it? You know, and if you had been willing to admit you were wrong, number one, and get help, number two, things would have been so much different and so much better, but narcissists can't. And so when my narcissist died, I felt nothing. I did. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let's be clear, because there's nothing there. There's no there with them. And there's no bond. And there's no emotional connection or attachment. Now, when my mom died, I was a freaking mess. I miss her. I do a lot. And I mean, she had her issues. We've talked about this, but you know, when she died, there was an emotional connection, and I really grieved her hard. My dad, peace out, dude. Go pound sand. Hope I don't ever see you in the afterlife. You know, it's just, there was no connection at all. And my mom and I felt a lot of relief. She felt guilty too. She was like, oh my God, I shouldn't feel this way. And I was like, stop. He was an asshole. He was mean. He was mean to you. He was mean to your children. It's okay for you to not grieve him and to be glad he's dead, because frankly, I am, you know, and so it's okay. It's okay. It's normal when we lose, when a narcissist departs the room, we're actually okay. We're not really sad, but we're sad for the what ifs or the onlys, if onlys. You know, what if this had happened, or if only that had happened? And of course, that's a little inner child. I can guarantee you that 10 maybe thinking about that. If only, if only, if only. So yeah, so just be gentle with you, sweetie. That's normal. We're not going to grieve an abuser, really. Some people will, but it's more grieving the if onlys than it is really grieving the loss of the person who used to cause you so much harm. So there that is. So you're okay. It's okay. And yes, they do interfere with attachment. You know, they keep the other parent from caring for the child and taking care of them, etc. Okay. What if those thoughts about the perceived ill intent of another person are indeed true, and your intuition is telling you that, but somebody else is telling you it's all in your head? Oh, okay. Well, if the evidence is telling you it's true, then it's true. You know, and here's what I've noticed with abusers and disordered people is that they love to sow doubt in the target of abuse's mind. So, for example, dealing with divorce cases, okay, the abuser will say or do something that sows confusion or doubt in the healthy parent's mind, and it's intentional. So, oh, you're crazy. Oh, this isn't what's really happening. You're imagining. It's gaslighting. So, you know, if it's really happening, you document everything. You check in with people that are sane. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. Are you seeing this too? Or am I smoking the ganja? That's what you do. This is why having healthy friends is really important, because they're kind of like, hey, I need a reality check here. Is this really happening? So, for example, I've had clients that will call me and be like, can we talk for 15 minutes? I just need 15 minutes. Yeah, of course. So they'll call, and my ex just said this or did this, and I feel crazy. Am I crazy? And then we'll go through what happened, and I'll be like, okay, back it up. Do you remember when they did this? Yes, I remember that. Okay, trust your gut. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's good to have somebody to do a reality check with. But if it is true, you know, if other people are seeing it and you've got the documentation for yourself that, yes, this is happening, and somebody else is trying to say, oh, it's all in your head, you want to take a look at that flying monkey. or you want to take a look at that abuser and see what is their agenda. What is their agenda to make you not trust yourself? What is their agenda to tell you it's all in your head? Because that's kind of an insult. Do you see where I'm going with that? So check it out. What is their end game? What is their plan? What is their agenda? What's their goal? Why are they doing that? What do they get out of it? That's always the question to ask. And trust your gut. Okay. Would DBT therapy be the same therapist that can help you through complicated grief first? So DBT is a modality. So it doesn't matter what the issue is. The modality is DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy. So they can help with depression, anxiety, grief, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you could absolutely do that. Working through the grief first. I love my therapist, but I need someone who will help hold me accountable. Okay. Well, if the therapist is not holding you accountable, you may need a completely different therapist. So basically, a good therapist holds you accountable. A good therapist is like, are you doing the work? Why aren't you doing the work? What's going on? What's stopping you? What is the fear? What is the this? What is the that? And then working on the grief, complicated grief is complicated because we may have loved our abuser, on some level, like a little kid level. I loved my dad because, he was my dad. But as an adult, I did not love my dad. So that's complicated because it's kind of like, okay, the inner child loved my dad, but the adult me did not love my dad. And I didn't miss him when he died, but I can guarantee my inner child was the one that got triggered when my brother said, now I'll never get his approval. Does that make sense? So you need a therapist that's going to work with you through all of those complicated, sometimes opposing emotions, and who's going to hold you accountable and have you do the work and call you on it when you don't, and gently kind of be like, what's going on? How come you're not, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from working on this? What's the fear? What are you telling yourself? What's the mistaken thought? What is the mistaken belief? And help you push through it. So yeah, you want a therapist that will keep you moving forward. You don't want one. This is what drives me crazy. And Bessel van der Kolk talked about this when he comes to Phoenix every once in a while and he does continuing education units. And he was talking about therapists who just, how do you feel about that? And keep the person coming for years, as opposed to holding them accountable, pushing them forward, giving them coping skills so that they can do it on their own, because that's the ultimate goal, So yeah, if your therapist is not helping you move forward, and if they're just, get a different therapist. That would be my suggestion. So, okay, is that it? That is it. All right, next week, my loves, we will be talking about contrast and compare, addictions versus personality disorders. Now, because YouTube, has a fit, I'm going to probably name it Contrast and Compare, okay? Just to let you know. So it's going to be about addictions, the similarities between personality disorders and addictions and the differences. So we're going to talk about that. All right, my loves, go have a great week. Please take good care of yourselves. And I will talk to you I'll talk to you on Wednesday when I answer any questions that I didn't get to. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.